The human soldier staggered through the dust-choked air, his armor scorched and dented from countless battles. Every step he took felt heavier than the last, but he could not stop. Behind him, the wreckage of his ship smoldered, sending thick black smoke into the alien sky. The ground beneath him was littered with fragments of metal and the remains of machines that had once carried the might of the human fleet. He kept moving, not because he was strong, but because he had to. The queen of the alien empire watched from a high balcony above the city, her eyes sharp and calculating. Her throne room, perched atop towers of iridescent crystal, reflected the afternoon light, casting shimmering patterns across her armor-like gown. She had been briefed on the arrival of a human soldier, but she had expected someone weak, broken, and desperate. This human was none of those things. When the guards brought him before her, fully armored and bloodied, she studied him with a mixture of curiosity and disbelief. His armor bore the marks of countless strikes, slashes, and burns. Yet, despite the wounds, he carried himself with a confidence that unsettled her. It was as if the injuries themselves had become part of his strength, a testament to the battles he had survived. The alien guards whispered among themselves. "He should be dead," one murmured, eyes wide at the stubborn resilience the human displayed. The queen ignored them, focusing entirely on the soldier. Slowly, deliberately, he began to remove his armor. Each piece clinked softly against the floor, revealing skin marred by burns, bruises, and deep scars. The queen froze, caught off guard not by his appearance, but by the quiet dignity in the soldier's movements. Every mark told a story: survival against impossible odds, courage in the face of death, determination that could not be crushed. The soldier did not speak immediately. His eyes scanned the throne room, taking in the alien architecture, the alien guards, and finally the queen herself. He spoke only when he had finished removing the last piece of armor, his voice calm, yet carrying a weight that demanded attention. "I have fought your people, faced your technology, and I am still here," he said. "I did not come to surrender. I came to ensure humanity survives." The queen's gaze softened, though she would never admit it. She had always believed humans were fragile, their victories fleeting and based on luck rather than skill or spirit. Yet here was a single soldier, scarred and battered, yet unbroken. And somehow he carried an air of authority she could not ignore. The court remained silent, waiting for a reaction from their queen. Some of the younger officers looked uneasy, uncertain how to respond to a human showing such resilience. The older generals exchanged glances, sensing that this soldier might be the first true test of their assumptions about humanity. The queen finally spoke, her voice measured, almost cautious. "You have endured much, yet you stand before me alone. Why?" The soldier's eyes narrowed slightly, but he did not flinch. "Because I must. My people depend on it, and I will not allow fear or your empire to dictate the limits of humanity." There was a pause, a charged moment where the weight of his words hung in the air. The queen, for the first time in her life, considered the possibility that humans were more than fragile creatures driven by survival instinct. They were fighters, strategists, and warriors capable of defying expectations at every turn. The alien guards were tense. None had expected the human to speak with such authority, and yet they could not deny the truth in his words. The queen gestured toward the central chamber. "Tell me everything you have seen, human. I want to understand why you survived where others would have fallen." The soldier moved to the center, sitting carefully despite the ache in his body. He recounted the battle, the tactics he had employed, the traps he had survived, and the allies he had lost. He spoke with honesty and clarity, never exaggerating, never pleading for sympathy. His words painted a picture not of luck, but of skill, resilience, and determination. As he spoke, the queen listened, fascinated despite herself. She had studied countless civilizations, observed innumerable battles, and yet she had never encountered anyone like this human. He was a contradiction. fragile in body yet unbreakable in spirit, beaten but undefeated, small in number but immense in willpower. The soldier paused to catch his breath. The queen noticed the faint tremor in his hands, the slow rise and fall of his chest. He was human, undeniably so and undeniably mortal. Yet in that moment she realized that mortality did not equal weakness. Strength came from within, from a refusal to yield, from the courage to stand even when all odds seemed against you. A sudden alarm cut through the chamber, signaling an attack on the outer city. The soldier's eyes flicked toward the entrance, calculating, analyzing. Despite his exhaustion, he rose to his feet, every movement precise and controlled. The queen's lips pressed together. She had expected fear, hesitation, or collapse, but he moved with purpose, with clarity, and with a determination that made her heartbeat quicken, though she would never show it. "Human," she said quietly, almost to herself, "you are unlike any I have faced before." The soldier did not reply. He was already assessing the situation, noting the strength of the enemy forces, the positioning of her guards, and the weaknesses in the alien attack formation. Even with battle wounds that would have incapacitated most, his mind remained sharp, focused, and unyielding. The guards hesitated, unsure whether to follow him or protect the queen. The human's confidence seemed to ripple through the room, a force that made hesitation feel like weakness. And the queen realized with a sudden clarity that humans were not to be underestimated. Not now, not ever. The first waves of the alien attackers breached the city gates. The soldier moved quickly, guiding the queen's troops with strategies that seemed almost intuitive. He anticipated enemy movements, countered ambushes, and turned the tide of the skirmish. His injuries slowed him, but they did not stop him. Each step he took, each command he gave, demonstrated a combination of courage and intelligence that left even seasoned generals in awe. The queen watched in silence, astonished at the human's capabilities. She had studied human physiology, human psychology, and human warfare extensively, yet this soldier defied all her calculations. His body was wounded, yes, but his spirit was untouchable. And she began to understand something fundamental. Humanity's greatest weapon was not their technology, their numbers, or even their ships. It was their indomitable will to survive and to fight, even against overwhelming odds. As the battle raged around them, the queen made a silent decision. This human, battered and scarred though he was, deserved recognition, not just as a soldier but as a symbol of what humanity could endure, achieve, and overcome. And when the smoke cleared and the immediate danger had passed, she would never forget the sight of him standing there, wounded yet unbowed, his armor discarded, revealing every scar as proof of humanity's resilience. The smoke from the outer gates lingered like a shroud, clinging to the alien city streets. The human soldier, armor long discarded, moved with a careful precision, his body aching, every step a reminder of the battles he had endured. Yet there was no hesitation in his movements, no pause to dwell on pain. His mind was sharp, calculating, ready to meet whatever the alien forces might throw at him next. The queen descended from her balcony, her eyes fixed on him. She had observed many soldiers, many human and alien alike, but none had stirred such a complex mixture of fascination and respect within her. The human scars, so vivid under the alien sun, were no longer just marks of survival. They were emblems of resilience, proof of a spirit unbroken. "You are unlike any human I have ever encountered," she said, her voice steady but carrying a hint of admiration. "Your courage is matched by your intelligence. I underestimated your people, and for that I will not forgive myself easily." The soldier glanced at her briefly, then returned his focus to the streets ahead. "Respect is earned through action, not words. I fight for my people, and I fight for the chance to prove that humanity will not be forgotten, no matter the odds." The queen's lips pressed together, an almost imperceptible smile tugging at the corners. There was something about him, something primal and unyielding, that compelled her to reconsider her assumptions about humanity. She had spent her life commanding armies, enforcing discipline, and maintaining control. Yet here was a human who had defied expectation, and in doing so, challenged her perception of strength itself. A new alarm sounded, this time from the inner sectors of the city. Rogue alien factions, seeking to exploit the confusion caused by the human soldiers' arrival, were making their move. The Queen turned to her generals, her commands sharp and decisive. "We follow his strategy. Trust him. If he fails, we fail." The generals exchanged uneasy glances. To follow a human's plan was unheard of, yet the Queen's tone left no room for argument. The soldier, understanding the gravity of the moment, began to orchestrate the defense. His mind moved like a chess master, anticipating enemy actions, directing troops, and exploiting weaknesses in ways that even the alien commanders found difficult to follow. Despite his injuries, he climbed to higher ground, using vantage points to observe the battlefield. His eyes tracked movements with unmatched precision. He coordinated the placement of troops, rerouted reinforcements, and improvised traps using the environment around him. Each command he gave was concise, yet carried the weight of authority and experience. The Queen watched as soldiers executed his orders flawlessly. There was a rhythm to his tactics, a flow that combined instinct with intelligence. The alien forces, confident in their superior technology, were caught off guard. Time and again, they underestimated the humans' ability to predict, adapt, and turn their strength against them. As the battle intensified, the human soldier's wounds became more apparent. His breath came in shallow, controlled gasps. Cuts bled through torn clothing and bruises darkened under the alien sun. Yet he pressed on, never slowing, never doubting. Each movement was deliberate, each decision calculated. His very existence on that battlefield became a symbol of what humanity could endure. At a critical moment, a group of alien reinforcements attempted to flank the Queen's forces. The soldier assessed the situation in an instant. He darted to a position that gave him a commanding view of the enemy's approach and signaled the Queen's archers to hold fire until he gave the signal. When the moment was right, a coordinated barrage struck the enemy flank, causing confusion and panic. The Queen's eyes widened. She had seen countless battles, witnessed armies crushed and leaders fall. Yet never had she seen such precise orchestration from a single soldier, nor had she seen courage so unshakable. "His body is fragile," she murmured almost to herself, "but his spirit is invincible." The human soldier did not falter. He moved among his troops, offering guidance, encouragement, and reassurance. Even when an enemy struck close, he remained calm, deflecting attacks with swift calculations and movements that made his physical injuries seem insignificant. His presence alone inspired courage in those around him, making them fight beyond their own limits. Hours passed, though it felt like minutes. The alien city, once on the brink of chaos, now began to stabilize under the soldiers' direction. Rogue factions were repelled, streets were secured, and the Queen's forces regained control. The Queen herself descended to the battlefield, walking among her soldiers and the human who had changed the course of the conflict. She stopped in front of him, studying his battered form. "You have done what I believed impossible," she said. "You have turned despair into triumph. Your people, your kind, are remarkable." The soldier nodded once, acknowledging her words without arrogance. "We survive because we must. We fight because surrender is never an option. That is what makes us human." The Queen studied him, the words resonating in her mind. She had always valued strategy, precision, and power, but she had underestimated the human element. The raw determination, the refusal to yield, the courage to face impossible odds with nothing but resolve and willpower. In the aftermath, the city began to repair itself. Alien soldiers worked alongside humans, observing their methods and learning from their resourcefulness. The Queen, once rigid and unyielding in her perception of humans, began to see the value in alliance, not just obedience. The human soldier, though exhausted and wounded, stood tall. His scars were visible, a testament to the battles he had survived. The Queen, watching him, felt a profound respect. She had underestimated humanity, but now she understood that humans were more than their technology or numbers. Their greatest weapon was their spirit, resilient, unbreakable, and inspiring. Later, in a private audience, the Queen spoke again. "You have taught me something my studies never could. Humanity is not fragile. They endure. They adapt. They conquer not because they are stronger, but because they will never give up." The human soldier bowed slightly, a gesture of respect, not submission. "And now, Queen, you know why we fight. Not for conquest, not for glory, but for survival for our people, and for the chance to prove that even the smallest of us can make a difference against the greatest odds." The Queen nodded, her decision made. Humanity, through this one soldier, had earned recognition, respect, and a place in the wider galaxy. She knew that this encounter would shape her policies, her understanding of war, and her perception of power. The human soldier, battered, scarred, but unbowed, had changed everything. As the sun set over the alien city, casting long shadows across streets that bore the marks of battle, the soldier looked toward the horizon. His mission was far from over, but for the first time he felt a measure of hope. Humanity's spirit had proven itself, and even here, in a world alien and hostile, that spirit could not be ignored. The Queen watched him quietly, no longer frozen in disbelief. She saw not a wounded human, but a symbol of indomitable courage, a living testament to what humanity could achieve when faced with insurmountable odds. And she knew, with certainty, that the galaxy would never underestimate humans again.